The following research presentation will look at the usage of pornography on the Internet or cyber porn and its relationship to the health and well-being of the family structure. The presupposition is that as availability of Internet use continues to increase, the availability and usage of sexual material and experiences on the Internet will increase, which will lead to a normalizing of the behavior within some group contexts. Currently, however, pornography is still seen as a form of deviance, and that it strays from acceptable sexual norms for certain groups. This presentation will demonstrate how cyber porn may produce an increase in marital problems. The purpose of this qualitative study is to review the current literature regarding cyber sex and discuss with two professionals the role cyber sex has played in their counseling sessions. The definition of cyber sex is the use of the computer to flirt, exchange romantic messages, including viewing pornography, sexually explicit chat formats, and sex research, to access sexual content for personal gratification and satisfaction. The research question that will be discussed in this presentation is, when one or more partners in a marital relationship is participating in cyber sex behaviors, is there a negative effect on the relationship, and does this effect result in changed behaviors of expressed love and intimacy between partners? Does cyber porn desensitize individuals to normal, healthy relationships? This is a question of growing relevance in light of statistics citing cyber sex as a major contributing factor to separation and divorce. According to research conducted by Goldberg, cyber sex addiction contributes to a broad spectrum of pathological, compulsive behaviors, which have significant negative impact on both the user of cyber sex and those around him or her. Just as in prostitution, which Klinert and Meyer would define as promiscuous and mercenary sexual behavior with emotional indifference between partners, cyber porn facilitates the same indifference. According to a definition of addiction by Klinert and Meyer, the term addiction refers to physical dependence. Using this definition, it would not be accurate to term sex as an addiction, since it would be difficult to ascribe physical withdrawal symptoms to the absence of it. However, sociologists make the distinction between behavior that represents an addiction and behavior driven by other reasons. Statistics from 2009 indicate approximately 20 to 30% of Internet users, or 20 million people, access sex-related sites. If only 1% of users who access sites develop cybersex addictions, that would be 200,000 people exhibiting addictive behaviors. According to Schneider, cybersex pornography creates a disinhibition and anonymity, which may contribute to addictive-like behaviors. Some would argue the very nature of addiction leads to tolerance, which is the need to do more and more to get the same results. For sex addicts, this means more hours on the Internet with greater numbers of individuals, and often riskier activities which may lead to actual live encounters, or extramarital sex, which Klinert and Meyer define as sexual behavior by a married person with someone who is not his or her spouse. The Internet provides the ideal place for hiding these activities from a spouse or significant other, because it does not leave obvious evidence of a sexual encounter. For family members with addicts spending an average of 11 hours a week dedicated to compulsive sex use, partners and families report greater feelings of loneliness, neglect, and anger as a result of time spent away from the family. For the addict themselves, one individual in rehabilitation states, "I might say to those who say it's only cyber, that it is so easy to go on to more from here. I never thought the cyber addiction would be so hard to control." Over the past 10 years, a relatively new field of psychology called Internet psychology has emerged. This field looks at studying the way people think, feel, and behave online. Multiple studies outlined by Delmonico have demonstrated that there are characteristics of the Internet different from other forms of media that contribute to individuals behaving differently online than when they're offline. This online disinhibition effect is described as a double-edged sword, characterized by individuals feeling uninhibited, more easily able to share secret emotions, fears, and wishes on one side, and on the other the ability to explore a dark world of the internet, places of pornography and violence, places they would never visit in the real world. The ease of non-committal experiences for the addict on the internet are encroaching upon and in many ways replacing the intimacy within a growing number of marriage relationships. Implications for how cyber addictions can impact healthy family relations could be understood through looking at the family integration model defined by Clinard and Meyer that asserts interaction is a family problem, not an individual problem. Behaviors of men and women are best understood in the context of their mutual interactions. Families that have strong interpersonal bonds tend to organize and regulate their relationships with each other. Researchers Schneider, Ayers, and Haddock indicate a significant loss of trust, respect, self-esteem, and emotional connection resulting from relationships where pornography is prevalent. Where couples used to share intimate experiences together, one 34-year-old woman, married for 14 years to a minister, addicted to cybersex, replies, "Now our bed is crowded with countless faceless strangers, where once we were intimate." According to therapists interviewed by Goldberg, 30% said cybersex was presented as a problem by the partner of the user who had come to therapy. 20% saw cybersex as a secondary problem, and 16% identified cybersex as the primary issue of therapy. The deception and pain of cybersex is often identified by the offended partner long before the addict recognizes the gravity of the problem. On the internet, it is possible to find groups of people who are interested in all kinds of unusual or deviant sexual practices. Interacting with these people desensitizes the user to the activities and normalizes them. Internet access has introduced many individuals to pornographic material that would not have been involved with this material prior to its advent. Direct implications for marital intimacy indicates up to 2/3, or 68%, of respondents participating in cybersex behaviors report a decrease in sexual intimacy with their partners. The method chosen for this study includes interviews with a marriage and family therapist of 24 years and a pastor of 25 years, both having experienced counseling couples seeking help for marital problems. Important to this study is that individuals sought out help from these professionals because they wanted help, so this population may not be indicative of the larger group mentality. The demographics. Table 1 breaks down the demographics of each participant by age, sex, degree title, marriage status, and number of years in practice or profession. Table 2 includes the interview questions used. Question number 1 asks, what do you see in your practice profession regarding clients with cybersex-related issues? Participant number 1, the female therapist, noted that in the last several years she's seen more acceptance of the internet pornography within our culture, that actually more women may be participating and getting involved with their husbands, and even though it's still more accepted than it has been, it's still taboo to talk about. Participant 2, the male pastor, noted that he deals mostly with Christian men who have morals but think that it is wrong and want to stop. He says they come to me because they want help. He sees around 15% of the men involved with cyber porn moving on to massage parlors, prostitutes, and voyeurism. Question 2 asks, do you feel knowledgeable and prepared to diagnose and treat couples or individuals presenting cybersex-related problems? Participant number 1, the female therapist, says she feels knowledgeable enough to make assessment of the problems in treating marital issues. She would, however, refer clients with deeper sexual issues on to trained specialists, especially male clients. She is trained in sexual abuse, and for male cybersex clients, Passing them on to therapists would be out of concern for exhibitionism or crossing boundaries with males. She feels confident discussing problems, but has no problem in passing them on to someone who's better able to help them than she herself would be. For participant 2, the male pastor, he's noticed over the past 10 years that there are some trigger points. As a pastor, he deals only with men in this area, and he sees accountability to others and the desire to stop pornographic behavior as essential in helping men walk free from addictions. Can he help people? He says yes, as long as they stay accountable with their money and their time. He does not see his role as one to judge or nanny, but to encourage. Question 3 asks, what are your perspectives and concerns about cybersex use? Participant 1 stated that her personal perspectives are that sex is sacred. She's against people using internet for sexual pleasure, except possibly in the case where married couples are separated for a long time, such as in the military. Then there may be some merit or value in it. She would not recommend individuals to look outside their marital relationship for sexual excitement and pleasure. Participant 2 believes that the problem is widespread, and it is now accepted as the norm, especially for men. His concerns are for young unmarried men that think it will get better when they marry. But the reality is, it usually progresses to more because the fix no longer feeds them. He's concerned for the loss of intimacy, no longer caring about the other, but it's all about the gratification of me. He's also concerned about the breakdown of mutual love and respect within the marriage relationship. Question 4 asks, what is your response to the statement, cybersex by an individual affects the family in profound ways that result in changes in definitions of love and intimacy between couples? Participant 1 said she can't make a sweeping generalization since men's brains are wired differently than women. They are able to compartmentalize. Some men are able to have relationships outside marriage and still believe they can fully give to their wives as well. They wouldn't know the difference. She also states that many guys would say it's just sex, just a physical release. However, if it is a true addiction, she states, your mind dwells on it and it can affect the relationship. Concerning women, she finds that sometimes women get involved and caught up in the romance and fantasy side. They may have difficulty separating fantasy from reality. Participant 2 says he sees cybersex as being selfish and self-centered, about self-gratification. In the bedroom, this translates into, what can you give me, rather than how can I love you? He feels it strongly affects the family because children watch their parents, especially boys, with their fathers. And he believes it's very detrimental to the family structure. It tears down love, devotion, and trust. In conclusion, when answering the initial question, when one or more partners in a marital relationship is participating in cybersex behaviors, is there a negative effect on the relationship, and does this effect result in changed behaviors of expressed love and intimacy between partners? It's important to remember that qualitative studies are designed to give insight and understanding into studies, but we must be careful not to generalize to specific groups due to the small sample size and the scope of the study. With this in mind, I think it is safe to say that the 2 individuals interviewed see significant areas where cyber pornography can have a negative effect on a marital relationship, affecting trust and intimacy by involving outsider individuals in something meant to be shared only by 2.